status theory SN. Today, I wanted to talk about tools and things that can help calm you down, um, or to kind of help recharge your energy, your battery, kind of thing. So, what brought this on for me was that my flight, flight or fight mode, um, my fight really kicked in hard. And it took everything I had to not go past that threshold. And it's one of those feelings that is really hard and very frustrating when it happens. So, basically, long story short, and I'm not going to go into full details unless you guys want to hear details, but basically, super pissed off with the situation, trying to be as cool, calm, collected, apologizing, even though, not my fault for said situation. Um, Trying to keep that professionalism, feeling threatened. When someone steps towards you, when they're heated, your body feels that threat. And unfortunately, that is a situation that I found myself in. And once I got home that evening, obviously you're still pumped after things like that happen, kind of vent about it a little bit. Then you sit and you can reflect. So that's what kind of brings me into today's topic, is, during those times of reflection, you look for different tools and tactics that can help prevent a situation from being that escalated, I guess is the word you would say, in the future. I even tried doing the deep breathing, the, you know, in through your mouth, out through your nose type, counting your breaths, tapping my fingers against my side. Um, but it was just, like I said, just past my threshold. So, one of the things that I used to do is make a body protection spray. If you guys have been following me on Instagram for a while, you know that I used to um, show you it all the time. I've kind of made a new one with certain qualities that I wanted in there. One being protection, the other being beauty, self love, and the other is relaxation. In the hopes of starting that back up, spraying it every morning as part of my daily routine to have those feelings, those energies with me. And the spray is now currently hanging out on my altar. That is something that typically works well for me, but a lot of other witchcrafty type tools that are helpful in any type of situation, whether it's a work situation, family, you're out in the community. You're not always able to step away from situations, the mundane, I should say. You're not able to step away from those mundane situations. But you can incorporate a magical practice into your mundane life to help combat those feelings that you're having, or those impulsive thoughts or what have you. So, some of the practices that I have learned about and tried over the past few years is definitely going to be meditation. I know when you read the books, you listen to the podcast, all the things, they're like, yeah, meditate for 5 minutes a day, an hour, what have you. Now, meditation is going to look differently for everybody. The standard is, people think that you have to sit back straight, fingers like this or crisscrossed or what have you, in complete silence, no interruptions, nothing. So that way your body relaxes and you become, or you're like in a trance of cool, calm, collectedness, those types of things. Um, and I'm talking in meditation in just the sense of calming yourself, not doing any type of like shamanic practices or dream walking, anything like that. This is just for self-care, breathing, calming, because that's a whole nother topic in itself. um, but like I said, meditation for everybody can look different. You can sit, you can do those quiet breathing practices, deep state trance. Sometimes, it can be sitting outside and listening to the birds and the bees and whatever else you have in nature, the breeze, like those types of things. So you're in touch with nature. Um, some people will do like physical activity, so running, walking, those types of things, yoga. And that physical activity is a time of, yes, you're working, but it's a time of relaxation, a time where you're not thinking about anything other than, okay, hey, I'm in this pose, my body needs to go down, and you're thinking about stretching, breathing, releasing the tension, um, those types of things. Another thing which I have done as well is crocheting. I know that sounds very old lady like, but hey, I'm an old lady. It's fine. um, but sometimes when you're crocheting, you don't have time to think about other things, because yeah, you see like all the cute little projects, shirts, shawls, different things like that that people make. But what you don't understand if you don't crochet is that crochet is a pattern. It's you have to count, if so you have to make sure that you're keeping track, that you're really focusing on your loops and what you're doing, because one wrong stitch, you have to take the whole thing apart, up to your mistake and restart, which is a pain. So it can be a meditative state because you're focusing in, you're zoning in, not thinking of anything else. Think of it like if you're staring at a singular object for so long, that's all you see, and the surrounding background becomes blurry. It's that type of feeling. And so that's a form of meditation that I do. Um, Moving on from meditation, people always say do journaling, that you can do 5 minutes of journaling a day, set a time, first thing in the morning before bed, what have you. Now I have tried and tried again to do the daily journaling, and I suck at it epically. For me, sometimes it can be hard with my work schedule to be able to wake up in enough time to do basically my morning routine chores, go to work, come home, do nightly routine chores, and kind of balance it out. Something that I feel sometimes works in replace of journaling is like when you have a free moment, you're sitting in your car in the morning, letting it warm up. Do the talk to text feature, like on your phone, and just say out loud what you're thinking. And what it does is it will translate it or whatever. I do it on it's like a notepad app thing on my phone, and I'll go on there. I'll say what I need to do later on in the day, or if I have time after saying it out loud, I read it, see what it is that I actually said out loud, and that's a way to, again, kind of calmly, and effectively release what's there, because when you hold things in, um, that build up is what can lead to just any type of like fight or flight situation. And there's always going to be the appropriate times to fight, and then there's always going to be the appropriate times to flee. But I'm talking in the sense of just kind of generalized now. And again, these are things that I have tried in my personal practice over the years, even before being on this journey. Things that I have tried to basically tame that Scorpio energy, that beast inside me. love who I am, love who I'm becoming. But if you have or know any Scorpios in your life, especially one, and when I say Scorpio, it's not just because I was born in November and that's my zodiac sign. My birth chart is for about, I want to say about 85% Scorpio. So, which means that my Scorpio energy is very, very high. And that can kind of lead to spiciness, attitude, needing to be in charge. Sometimes you come off as just a plain old bitch. So it's hard to balance that. And so I've always had to find these, even before I knew like that was my chart. I've always had those energies. So doing these things have to help, right? Um, just reading anything, whether it's a witch book, which I do read a lot of. Here, right now, I'm reading the Bell Witch from, it's an American haunting, Brent Mon, Monahan. I'm probably saying his name wrong. I'll put it in the description. But this is a true story about a poltergeist that happened in Tennessee, I believe. And so, yeah, it's not necessarily in retrospect with my path. It does have that supernatural, spiritual, witchy mumbo jumbo. And that's a really bad word. I don't like that word, but I can't think of the word I'm thinking of, because a lot of people do give a lot of grief on this book, and don't believe that the story happened. But if you are in this path, you know that the quote unquote mumbo jumbo is spirit activity. There you go. I don't know why I couldn't think of that. Sorry. Shh, it's fine. Um, so yeah, that I just read another book that kind of went through the stages of a woman's life, and things you could like representation of like that particular moment in your life, and it was very enlightening, very helpful, kind of made me be able to look inside, and help release some of the frustration, because it's like, okay, hey, I'm not alone type of thing. As to, I just listened to an audiobook as well that was like a mermaid romance type book. And yes, it was not a real story, but it had some elements in it that were real people and places. Um, I don't really know how to explain that very much. But just to, and then, anywho, but just reading audiobooks, those things, it lets your brain shut off. Well, the brain of of like reality. So you are focused on what you're reading, what you're listening to, and that's what your brain is picturing. So I guess your imagination per se. Um, but yeah, so always been a big reader. To this day, my reading choices have changed a bit, but still, read. And I think that's across the board, anyways. With our path, is you just read everything that you get your hands on. If you don't like it, that's okay. But the only way that you're going to learn, and the only way that you're going to be able to know what you like, what you resonate with, what you want to try, what have you, is by reading, and read the things you think you wouldn't read. Like, for instance, I am reading this book right now, and I never thought I would be one to read something like this. So, anywho, that's a side note, a rant. But that's what, you know, this is all about. These quote unquote Dear Diary type videos, video blog. I don't even really know what to call it at this point, guys. I want it to be something catchy, but I also want it to be, not boring. And I don't really like the term Dear Diary. I don't know. Um, so I'm just gonna play with that. But anywho, again, side note, squirrel brain. Um, But yeah, so I talked about doing meditation, physical exercise, um, reading, you know, um, like crocheting, which is like arts and craftsy, I guess. I know some people that when they have a bunch of negativity or clouding up on them, what you'll do, like me, I make the spray. But some people will do other type of things as well, like smudging. You can do like a cleansing bath shower, which I have done those before, and those are quite wonderful. Sunbathing, and I know that's probably like my water mermaid energy, but sunbathing, spending 5-10 minutes in the sun a day, um, letting it touch your skin, letting it absorb, that is going to bring positive energy, power into, like, just deep into your soul. Hence why I spent almost 5 hours between doing yard work and just laying out in the sun and in the pool today. Um, and vice versa, going outside at nighttime, um, looking up at the stars, absorbing the moon light, rays, just the beauty in the sky, just to kind of have that foolproof of, night and day, and the different energies that they have, and know that the beauty within them can be just calming in itself. Um, and these all sound probably like everyday normal things, but I personally believe and I feel that these are all magical things that you do regardless of your spiritual path. Same thing like superstitions. People are like, oh, you step on a crack, you break your mama's back, or break a mirror, 7 years of bad luck. It's all things that people know and say and may do, even if they're not quote unquote witchy. Um, but people believe those things and they do them without realizing it. So, same thing, like these things are a very personal, spiritual practice, but not everybody may not know that they're doing it. So, it's just um, very powerful when you can see that those everyday things can do so much for you than you think they can. And again, like I said, this was brought on because my Scorpio energy was super, super high, and my fight mode tried to take over. And I, I struggle when that part of her comes out, of me comes out, um, and I want to become better. And I am open to hearing what practices you do, what recommendations you would have, if you're feeling the same way, have the same energy as me, you know, hit me up. Let's talk. Let's learn. Let's grow together. And let's all kick today's ass. And it's going to be a great week coming up. Thank you, everybody, so much for listening to my little rant. And until next time, I will see you guys later. Bye.